In the political notebook this week, two issues, the state of COPE and the state of the nation. And I've got with me COPE President Thero Lekota. I'm still calling you Thero.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, I've been Thero for the better part of my life.
Let's start with the state of COPE.
Yeah.
Big expectations before the election.
Yeah.
You got the 7%. Now polls are coming in with 2%.
Yeah.
Are we looking in good shape at 2%?
Look, first of all, what one must remember is that the organization started at the height of an election that was looming, and the atmosphere at that time makes for huge excitement. It was the very first time that a serious challenge from inside the ruling party had happened. That, of course, had its...
Do you think the expectations were a bit high at that stage?
Well, in every election, of course, the mood of the electorate goes up and the focus of people on politics is very high. But also at the same time, there had been for some time uneasiness on the part of the electorate about some of the developments which people are not happy about. And they thought perhaps here was emerging an opportunity for an alternative that might pose a challenge, compel the ruling party to perform better and so on. So it was realistic because under circumstances that would have been so. But once the elections have passed, as you well know, enthusiasm dissipates and people go back to their work and focus on other things. They'll pick it up again, you know, later in with the next elections and things like that. I'm sure the mood will come back. The questions that were there before the nation will be revisited again. For instance, the issues of change of the electoral system, the performance of the public service. Is public service open to all citizens as it should be? Questions such as economic questions, BEE, affirmative action. There'll be issues that will come up of corruption, you know, tenderpreneurs, you know.
Okay,
all of these
but in the meantime, in COPE, you've got this sort of awkward leadership situation. You're the president. There's a leader in parliament. There's a deputy president who's very prominent.
Yeah.
Is that not sort of diluting the focus from the issues to internal kind of party politics?
Well, as you know now, we have taken a decision that we will go to a National Congress where all of these issues will be reviewed by the organization, including whether the arrangements of leadership should remain as they are.
Surely you're going to go for having a leader and sorting that out now. I mean, it's understandable in the initial phase, but going forward...
I don't want to go ahead of the outcomes of conference. I do hope that when the conference shall have run its course, there will be absolute clarity on and satisfactory arrangement for all of us and for the organization to forge forward without any more diversion to these issues.
Okay. Do you think it was a mistake for you to not be in Parliament?
Well, look, I don't want to express an opinion on this issue because we are going to conference and I will do some evaluation of this as part of the discussions at conference. And sometimes it's not very it's not very wise to do that, to criticize the organization or to raise views that may diverge in an open discussion of this nature before conference.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned tenderpreneurs. If you look at the state of the nation now, what's worrying you? What do you think? I mean, we've got this whole discussion of people who accumulate wealth from political positions. That's starting to become quite a major issue.
To tell you the truth, I think that it's a matter of extreme concern, certainly to me, and I think to many people that I meet and so on. First of all, because many of us had thought that when democracy shall have come, government would focus its attack on eliminating poverty, on improving the condition of the poor people, which is why President Mandela started with the slogan, "A better life for all." What has since happened, if one takes a bird's eye view since then, is that the ruling party, especially under the present leadership, has deviated towards this entrepreneurship, which has become now the order of the day, where individuals strive for positions in the leadership of the party, and then using that as springboard for positions in government. And once they are there, to use their influence there for self-enrichment, or for family enrichment, or for enrichment of close friends, etc. This, unfortunately, has created a situation in which resources that principally should be devoted to the further expansion of the country's infrastructure, the maintenance of what infrastructure we inherited from the past, the improvement of the life conditions of the people, etc., including the expansion, by the way, of the economy as a whole, so that it is in a position to carry an ever-expanding population. All of those interests for a collective South African development have fallen by the wayside. And we see instead infrastructure that is now collapsing, roads full of potholes, failure to maintain water reticulation infrastructure, sewage infrastructure also that is unmaintained, and essentially a deterioration. The situation is just moving in the opposite direction to what we had anticipated. And I think it's a very, very serious matter, especially when emerging as extremely wealthy members, and in particular leadership of the ruling party. People preach all of these good things for the people, but nothing is followed by action. So I think it's...
But are you sure that there aren't people in COPE who have a similar background?
Look, you must understand me, I'm saying the culture as such. Whether that culture is found, at the moment it is very clearly and hugely visible in the ruling party. Opposition parties are not so much in the limelight, so it may well be that even there you will find residues of that. But of course, national attention focuses on where our budget, on where the fiscus is at, on who is managing it and so on. Because if you're going to arrest it, you've got to be arresting it, you've got to be in that position of governance to be able to arrest it. So,
if you were Jacob Zuma, how would you deal with this Julius Malema issue?
Well, first of all, I would have said there must be an audit, a check, as to where his wealth has come from. When we set up the special investigating unit in the earlier administration, it was so that where there is wealth accumulated by dubious means, government should be in a position to look into that matter. And because you can't stop crime if you cannot investigate this area. And we made a provision that where wealth was found to have been accumulated by illegal means, by dubious means, or means totally illegal, it must be confiscated. Such operations must be stopped. And that, in fact, such confiscated wealth as that must be handed or must be devoted to policing, added to the policing budget, so that you strengthen police investigation of crime and stopping it. Because really, corruption is also crime, because it's theft from the masses of the people.
Okay, on that note, thank you very much,
My pleasure.
Mr. Lekota.
Thank you, sir.
And that's all in the Political Notebook for this week.